There are videos going around on the internet saying that this tablespoon of mayonnaise can fix ground beef. Honestly, I hate how much I want this to be true because I just love mayonnaise and hate cheap ground beef. So according to those viral videos, all you need is a tablespoon of mayonnaise and a pound of ground beef, preferably cheap beef. And together, they will taste like Wagyu beef. I think that is a little bit too much of a bold statement. But if it's true, it's the ultimate hack. But if it's false, well, we need to figure this out, because if it's false, then, well, myth busted, right? And we can continue with our lives and live happily ever after and pay a lot of money for Wagyu beef. I hope it's true. This whole thing started with a short video of swine life outdoors. The idea was simple. Take a pound of cheap ground beef, add a tablespoon of mayonnaise, mix it in, and your burgers will actually taste like insane Wagyu burgers. A funny thing is that another YouTuber, Gulf Coast Smoke, actually put this to the test in his video, and that video went viral. Mix a tablespoon of mayonnaise with a pound of ground beef. Season it with your favorite barbecue seasoning and smoke it over indirect heat. Sear the burgers over direct heat and then melt a slice of cheese on top. Toasting the buns at the same time, just think of the payoff. Just think about it. Of course, the comment section went absolutely bananas when they saw how much mayonnaise he used, but I really like the way they looked. So let's put it to the test. I actually did a lot of testing with beef and mayonnaise, but it was mainly while grilling steaks. And I came up with that idea since Michelin star restaurants use mayonnaise to grill fish and make it more crispy and taste even better. In my experiments, I found that it worked really well to get a good crust on a steak, but I never thought of using it to fix cheap ground beef. But before we start this project, we need to talk about the potential pitfalls too. Because what if the mayonnaise makes the burger fall apart? Just like too much fat in the meat could make a burger just disintegrate. Or we could have too much seasoning. But now you have the mayonnaise already adding flavor to the burger, and then you add seasoning, which is basically double seasoning. Yeah, taking that into consideration. To perform this test, I'm actually going to start by firing up my barbecue. I'll be using the Napoleon Kettle Grill Pro. I'm going to take the grill grates out, put in a couple of briquettes, and to fire it up, I'm going to use a wool fire starter, open it up for extra airflow, light it up, and put it under the briquettes. Once the fire starter is burned out, I'm going to put the grill grates back in, open up the top vent and close the bottom vent almost all the way, and I'll be aiming for a smoking temperature of around 140 degrees Celsius. And now that I got my barbecue set up, we need to talk about the way that we're going to perform the test. Because the first thing that I'll be doing is make two burgers. One is going to be the mayonnaise burger, and the other one is going to be the reference burger. So we can actually see the difference between the two. And I'll be preparing all of the ingredients. Because once you start cooking burgers, there's no time to stop and actually do some work in between. You need to keep going to make the perfect burger. So the main ingredient, of course, is cheap ground beef. To get this, I went to the supermarket and I bought, well, what I personally find horrible, a package like this. Like, can we zoom in a little bit? Look at that. You see that? Well, this is not actually 80-20% beef. This is kind of a lean beef. It actually says lean in Dutch, mager, which means almost no fat. So probably the white stuff is more likely going to be like ground up cartilage and stuff like that. It's a great filler. Yeah. Did you actually know there's more in this ground beef than just beef? Conservatives, antioxidants. It's okay, it's still beef. It's not something else. Don't worry about it. It's cheap, but it's not something other than beef and conservatives. Yeah, normally I wouldn't use this for burgers. Depends on who's eating the burger. There are situations that you should be using this instead of the good stuff. So what do I actually use normally when making burgers is this. This is it. This is my ground beef. I just took it out of the freezer, so it's a little bit real ground beef. This is burger, unseasoned, nothing added to it, just minced beef from our own bull that we butchered. Well, we turned a lot of it into beef burgers because we eat a lot of burgers at our house. And this is the real deal. No need to use mayonnaise for this. But of course, if you're making burgers like for a lot of people, if you have a party, or if your kids have a party at school and you want to make them some burgers, you're going to turn to the cheaper stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be very expensive. And somehow I also think burgers are supposed to be cheap and not these expensive, overpriced things that you sometimes get at restaurants. So it kind of makes sense to do the mayonnaise test, because if it works, wow. For my ingredients, I have a raw onion, peeled and sliced nice and fine. I got some American cheddar cheese, not the cheapest kind, but just a little step up. And I've got these pre-sliced pickles. They're a little on the sweet side, and I like that a little better on my burger. Of course, I got the ground beef, a little bit of ketchup, which I think is a necessity on the burger because the acidity of the ketchup balances out the burger. And of course, the mayonnaise. And you can use Duke's or Hellmann's or whatever mayonnaise you prefer, but I'll be using a Dutch version. I like this one the best. And of course I got my burger buns. I already cut them up in half, and with the grill fired up and the ingredients prepared, it's now time to start the actual test. Of course I'm going to start with the ground beef. So mostly the white stuff that you see on the inside is going to be not fat, but it's actually going to be tendons ground in with the meat. And when you cook something like that as a burger, your meat is going to taste dry and it's going to taste, well, like a rough structure, more like these crumbles that you're eating. And it's not a very pleasant experience. And maybe you've had it before, because if you buy lean beef from the supermarket, most of the time it just dries out, turns gray, and becomes absolutely horrible. And it doesn't matter if you have a ground product or like lean beef, the structure, it's just horrible. And there's a good reason for that, because supermarkets like to keep the prices low, because that means more people will shop at their supermarket. So really supermarkets are not to blame. We are to blame that supermarkets sell this, and if we want something different, we shouldn't buy this. Or we should buy this and fix it with this. I love the idea of this hack working so much that I'm going to be so happy if it works. Mayonnaise, man. Dutch people, they have this running through their veins. But why mayonnaise? Why could this actually work on this? Well, this, it looks white and it doesn't look like oil, but this is mainly oil. This is like almost all the way oil. Rapeseed oil, 78%. Water, egg yolk, natural vinegar, sugar, salt, mustard, and that's basically it. Most of this is oil, which means it's fat, and it's going to make this taste fatty. And another ingredient that I'll be adding to the beef is beef seasoning. This stuff is freaking delicious and it works so well with beef. That's why it's called beef seasoning. It is important that I add it to the beef together with the mayonnaise so I can balance out the flavor. Because as I read, one of the ingredients is sugar and one of the other ingredients is salt. So we're going to have flavor from this combined with a little bit of flavor of that. So don't season this burger the same way you would normally do it, because then you will be over seasoning your burger. So I am going to add 1 tablespoon exactly to a pound of ground beef, adding 2 teaspoons of beef seasoning. I'm gonna put a couple of gloves on and start mixing this up. You can actually see the meat turning a little lighter in color. But we're using a lot less mayonnaise than Gulf Coast smoke, so you can still see the red of the beef. I still have the structure and I don't want to overwork this meat so it becomes one big hump. For my reference beef, I'd just be using 2 teaspoons of the PitmasterX beef seasoning and a little bit extra to balance out for the mayonnaise. This is a great moment to compare the types of beef. Here we have our reference burger meat and here we have our mayonnaise burger. There's a lot of difference in color. I'm going to shape the burgers with my hands on a piece of baking paper, starting with my reference burger. These are going to be about 200 grams or a little less than half a pound. I want them to be about a finger thick and a little bigger than my burger bun. Also, I don't want to have any cracks that might tear up the burger during the cooking process. And I really want to show the effort of shaping the burger so it looks as good as it can be. Time for these beauties to hit the grill. I've got about 140 on the dial. I got my grill nice and hot. To cook these burgers, I'll be using the reverse sear method. And that means I'm going to put my burger on the opposite side of the grill. And so in the first phase of the cook, they'll be smoking and not grilling. Let's close the lid and let them smoke. The burgers currently have a temperature of 54 degrees Celsius core temperature. And I've taken them off the barbecue to rest. And that is part of the reverse sear method. First, you smoke the burgers, let them come up to temperature, give them a rest before you sear them off. And the cool thing is, it also gives me the opportunity to add a little bit of charcoal to the grill, raise up the temperature so we can get a good sear on them. So while we wait, let's take a look at these burgers, because you can clearly see the difference from the reference burger, which is a lot redder, and it seems like it picks up a lot more smoke color, whereas the mayonnaise burger is a lot lighter in color. What does that tell me? I don't know yet, but personally I think the burger without the mayonnaise looks better to me at this point, and I don't want that. I really hope the mayonnaise burger works. Once the grill is hot, it's time to put the burgers on. Give them a good sear. I like to rotate them for an extra sear mark. And once that's done, I'm gonna put them over indirect heat again, put on a slice of American cheese, put the buns on the grill and let them toast while the cheese on the burger is melting. Now these burgers are starting to look really good. Can you tell the difference between these two burgers, or is it just me and do they look exactly the same right now? If I zoom in real close, I think I can still see a little difference. The mayonnaise is just slightly lighter in color, but slightly. I can't see any distinct difference where I'm saying like, wow, this one definitely looks better. So I guess it all comes down now to the taste test. Wow, man. I'm cutting these burgers over and I'm thinking, wow, normally I cook them a little less, so they kind of overshot on me. That's not the point. The point is, look at the difference in juiciness between these burgers. If I squeeze the reference burger, you can see that it looks good, but it's not as juicy as the mayonnaise burger. This one is much juicier. So I think we can officially establish that the mayonnaise burger does look juicier. Well, let's give that a bite. I'm starting with the reference burger. It's a bit dry. Even with the sauce and the cheese and the pickles, it's still a bit dry and the structure's not that great. I will give this burger, I should have cooked it a little less, but honestly, I'm gonna give this burger like a 4, probably. Yep, 4 out of 10. Now let's do the mayonnaise burger. It's better. So not only is the mayonnaise burger more juicy, it also changed in structure. You don't have that like dry, sandy feeling in your mouth. It's really a lot better. But did it really save the burger? Is it really now that good where you can say it saved the burger? Does it become Wagyu? It's not that good, but it made the burger better. It made it good. Well, no, it made it good. If I like to had to grade this burger, I would probably now give it a 6 out of 10, which is still not great, but better. So I gave myself a little time to think about it, and I wouldn't say that it's kind of a hack. It kind of will make your burger better. If I cook the burgers a little less through, like a medium rare, would it be better? Would it be great? It won't be great. Mayonnaise doesn't turn burgers into Wagyu burgers like that. You know, rapeseed oil doesn't replace the beef tallow or the beef fat. Can't. Can you make mayonnaise out of beef tallow? So should you give this a try? Well, definitely use this. Definitely give it a try. Hope you guys enjoyed this experiment, and if you did, then leave me a big thumbs up and a comment down below. See you guys in the next video. Until then, eet smakelijk and keep on grilling.